For the last 2 years, the answer is always the same with people. That thing you could always go back to 18 months ago is your baggage today. And that is what the top performers know. And that's why they're so obsessed with learning.
What's up, everybody? Adrian Boycell back here again for another episode of Love Gangster. And today I have another special interview with a very special guest, Mr. Scott Duffy. What's up, brother?
It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Yeah.
Good to have you here. So for those that don't know who you are, give them a little introduction, your background, who you are, what you do.
Oh boy. Well, I'm an entrepreneur and a keynote speaker. I started my career when I was young, when I was 20 years old, working for Tony Robbins and promoting Jim Rohn and Les Brown and some of the more kind of iconic people in the speaking industry at that age and or at that time. And then I was really early in consumer internet and was really fortunate to be on the ground floor, kind of an early employee of some really cool companies that became big media brands. And today are CBSSports.com, NBC Internet, FoxSports.com. And then following that, I started a company that was like Expedia for private jets, and we sold it to Virgin and the Virgin Group, which was a pretty awesome, really fun time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, 20 years old, what was the catalyst for you that sparked that whole journey and going down that road?
You know, it was actually crazy. So I was going to, I was in college. I was at University of San Diego, and you know, I was always very entrepreneurial. I started my first company when I was 18. It was actually like a student painting business.
Wow.
Where, I'll tell you, for young kids that are in college today, I got some really great advice when going into my freshman year. And the advice was, on my first day of school, go into the career counseling department and meet the person in charge and just build a relationship with that person. And the idea was back then, if they took a liking to you and stuff like that, they would help you to find an internship, which was like the one thing that everybody was hoping to get, like an internship with the cool company kind of at that time. And so I built a great relationship, and 3 or 4 months go by and I get a call, and it's from this guy who runs the career counseling. And so I'm like, this guy must have a great internship for me. And so he says, hey, Scott, you got to come in, you got to come down. I come down to the office, and he says, I have got the thing for you. And I said, what is it? And I'm thinking to myself, it's got to be like Microsoft, or at that time, it was a long time ago, Microsoft or FedEx or, Xerox or something like that. And he said, no, it's AAA student painters. And I'm like, wait a second, student painters? Like, no, AAA student painters.
Huh.
And he said, I've gotten to know you. And there's one thing I know. He's like, you're not a big company guy. He said, you are really entrepreneurial. And these guys are going to teach you how to write a business plan and how to build a team and how to execute a strategy. And so I started my career with AAA student painters. And I was going to college. I was having the time of my life. I played sports. But we had this tradition. And the tradition down in San Diego was after your midterm exams in the fall and in the spring semester, we all just like get in our cars and we drive 9 hours south to San Felipe, Mexico. And we just like party for like 3 days, right?
Yeah.
And in my third year, my junior year, I was driving down with a group of people, and we were about 90 miles south of the border, south of Arizona. And we were in, like, if you've ever been down to Baja, so they have these roads, and they're like one lane in each direction, and desert as far as you can see. And we're cruising down one of those roads, and we're probably going 80, 90 miles an hour. And a car pulled out who didn't see us, and we hit this guy square on.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm telling you, like, it was the worst day of my life. And the question I always ask people is like, how many times have you been going down a road? Maybe in your life, maybe in your business, and you were doing everything right. So like as a business, maybe you had the perfect idea, right? You wrote the perfect plan, you executed flawlessly, and then something came out of nowhere and it hit you and knocked you off course.
That's right.
And so like everything you did up to that point, every business plan you wrote, email you sent, call you made, text you sent, like everything had to be thrown out.
Absolutely.
And you had to start over.
Well, life is what's happening to you while you're making other plans.
Well,
right?
it is. And so that's what happened to me. I ended up dropping out of school at the time.
Wow.
And while I was recovering, I started listening to motivational books on tape. And the first guy and by the way, back then, San Diego was like the Silicon Valley of speakers. They were all there.
Yep.
And so the first person I applied to intern for was Tony Robbins. Again, the idea was I'm getting better. I go back, finish school, and intern. And instead of offering me an internship, I was offered a job.
Oh,
And it's really funny because, and I'll wrap this up. It's really funny because um, it was probably a year later. We were at one of his events in Seattle. We were having lunch, and I was sitting next to him, and they said, Tony, I said, I don't think that you probably remember how I got to you. And I told him how I was like having the time of my life. I got in this accident and crazy thing. And what he said to me is this. He literally put his hand up like to stop me. And if you've been around Tony Robbins, he's a big guy. He's got big hands. You're going to stop, right?
yep.
And he said to me, Scott, I always want you to remember, you're going to have good days and bad days, but you don't know which is which until sometime way down the line because you don't know what you're going to make of the experience.
Wow.
And I always found that to be so true.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's neat. Well, that's a great origin of how you got connected with that. And so you had some successes and some wins, obviously, of working with him and being in proximity, right? Proximity is such a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Most speakers. So you transitioned to that. How did you make that leap from painters to then to that into the speaking world and then into the big kind of corporate startup founding space? Like how did that all come to be?
Yeah. So I ended up leaving the training space. And I think I was just a little bit burned out. And I was still in my early 20s. And I started working at a bar in Santa Monica. It's really funny because
That's funny.
the place was called Chillers, and they made these like slushy, like
Okay.
7-Eleven, like slushy drinks, but they were just like filled with alcohol.
Got it.
And they had one competitor. And as I was walking up here to this event venue today, the one competitor from like 30 years ago
No
is
way.
downstairs. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Called Fat Tuesdays.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, you saw that? So I'm working at Chillers and I'm doing my thing and I just was always interested in tech. And a friend of mine called me and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm kind of between things." He said, "Great." He said, "We're going to start a company." And I said, "What kind of company?" And he said, "An internet company." And I said, "What the hell's an internet company?" And he said, "What does it matter? You're like in between things." And so I said, "Cool." And so he explained what it was.
Yeah.
And I said, "Great." So I literally picked up all my things, quit my job, and went down to Arizona and slept on the floor at his place. And so what had happened was the internet had been around for about 25 years.
Yeah.
And then in October of 1994, Mark Andreessen
Yeah.
launched the first,
M16.
the first browser.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And which is like, Safari or Chrome today.
Yep.
And the first commercial browser, the Netscape Navigator, came out in December of that year. So that month, we started an internet access company.
Wow.
The number one way people got on the internet at that time was through AOL.
Yep.
We did a deal with MCI to provide another way for you to get online. And our company was a total fucking disaster. We did everything wrong. Like it was like a ton of lessons.
Oh yeah.
But what it did is it got me to see and get to know people that were working on some really cool stuff. So like what the guys who founded Yahoo were doing at Stanford or at Carnegie Mellon, what they were doing with Alta Vista. And so I'm like, I got to get in that business and I got to go where the action is. And by the way,
Exactly.
right? Like you're about storytelling and marketing and things like that, right? I mean, we have got to put ourselves right where the action is. We have to find a way to get there. And so what I did is I would basically take the money that I had, the cash, and I would drive up to San Francisco and I would sleep on my friends' couches and I would try and find companies or jobs I could go and get. But there just weren't a lot of internet companies at that time.
Exactly.
And so I would go back and forth, do some work at the thing, get some tips, go back up. And eventually one day, I literally ran out of couches. Like none of my friends called me back. I'm in the Bay Area. I had nowhere to go. I'm sleeping in my car in this dirt parking lot outside of a company called Oracle in a dirt lot, which is now a building.
Hilarious.
Yeah. And so I'm doing that. And while I was doing that, I got a call and it was from a family member. And the family member said, "Hey, we don't get what it is that you're doing. Like our family has had a business for, been in a certain business for 50 years down here in Southern California. You can go get a great job." And it was like one of those times where all of us have this in our lives, right? Where we got to make a decision. And that decision we make is going to take us in one of two very different
The
directions.
defining moment.
Defining moment. And so the question was, do I go home, right? And do I stay? or do I stay? And I decided to turn on my car and go home.
So what do you think what was the catalyst? Was it that voice inside you? You just knew you had to listen to it? Like, what was the
Well, so what I did, well, I'll tell you more about that voice because the voice inside me was saying, "You got to stay up here." But what I did is I drove home that night. I got everything that I had in my bedroom, and I basically went to a pawn shop in Santa Monica and I pawned everything.
Wow.
So I
Burn
pawned
the ships.
my high school ring, right, from my high school, a bracelet a girlfriend had given me, a
Wow.
Rolex I bought when I pawned a file cabinet. I literally pawned a file cabinet, and I took the money that I got. I owed back rent, I paid the rent,
Wow.
and the same day I went back up to the Bay Area, right? And
Incredible.
so I ended up with about 200 bucks.
Mhm.
The question is, what do you do when you're down to your last 200 bucks? And for me, the answer was simple. You buy pizza. And you buy pizza. And the idea is that the people who are working at these companies
Yeah.
are gonna get hungry. So what you do is you go and you buy a bunch of pizzas and you put your resume on the inside.
Yep.
Because like we live in a competitive world.
Yep.
So this might sound like a super cheesy example today, but wherever you are in your life, like if you wanna get in the door, you gotta do something different. You gotta do something to stand out.
That's right.
So I bought pizza, and I actually made a deal with a guy at Domino's. This is where I bought the pizza from, and I offered to clean up after his shift if he would give me a discount on the pizzas. And back then, they had these pizzas that had been out for a while,
Yeah.
and so I just got those. I got a little discount on them.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. So anyway, somebody was hungry and they liked pizza. They saw my resume and they called.
Wow.
And the guy said, "I don't know if I have a job for you, but I promise if I don't, I will help you to find one."
That's amazing.
And it changed my life.
That's incredible. So what I'm looking for in these conversations is I'm trying to hone in from the little nuggets that you've dropped already.
Yeah.
What's your superpower?
So, yeah, that's a really great question. So I think that I agree with you. I think that everybody has got like one superpower, one thing that they're just exceptional at
Yeah.
that makes them them. And I'll say two things about it. For me, my superhuman power has always been being able to, in business, to create partnerships, strategic partnerships where both sides win, and 1 + 1 = 100.
Yeah.
So in an early stage company, you're able to get crazy scale fast without really having to pay out of pocket for it.
That's right.
I would say also as it relates to superhuman powers, this is, I live in AI today.
That's
And
right.
so my company, AI Mavericks, we have one of the biggest conferences in the country today. It was just ranked one of the top 5 AI events everybody has to attend by
Mhm.
AI News. One of the things I've learned is like I've interviewed people for 30 years,
Yeah.
right? For books, for things, I literally almost 1,000 people. And I'm always asking them, what is the difference that makes the difference between the number one at anything and everyone else?
That's right.
And here's the thing, over the years, the answer is always different
Yeah.
depending on who I talk to.
That's true.
So you talk to Tony Robbins, he might talk about state management,
Yeah.
right? People learn to control their physical and emotional states. So no matter what life throws at them, they're able to repackage it in a way that moves them forward.
For sure.
Sarah Blakely, she might talk about hustle, right?
Mhm.
And moving racks and like, stuff like that. Tony Hawk, he talked about you just keep going.
That's right.
10 years of trying the same trick and falling before he nailed it the first time.
That's right. Persistence wears down resistance.
Exactly. But for the last 2 years, just short of 2 years, the answer is always the same with people. It is crazy. The people who are the best of the best at everything have this crazy, this obsessive like passion for learning.
Yes. The autodidacts and the
Yeah.
insatiable thirst for higher, you just can't get enough.
You can, and the reason is it used to be that life in business moved relatively slow. It was like linear.
Yeah.
But the internet changed everything.
I did.
And the pace of change went from linear to exponential.
Yeah.
And with AI, you go from linear to exponential to really incomprehensible.
Yeah.
So back to superhero powers. What I've learned from them is this. Whatever it is that makes you you, that superhuman power that you have, that thing you could always go back to 18 months ago is your baggage today.
Mm.
And that is what the top performers know.
That's
And that's why they're so obsessed with learning.
Well, as every person we come into contact, right, they're a reflection, good or bad, right?
Yeah.
We find something we don't like about them, it's a reflection of something in us that we don't see, right?
Yeah.
So same thing in the positive light.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I discovered something through another event called the City Gala, City Summit, years ago when Ryan did.
Right. Yeah.
And what's funny about that is I see the same reflection in you of something similar that you and I both share. And that's my superpower, which I found out at that event through the camera guy, Russo Montauk, which is enthusiasm. I had never realized it's such a simple thing like enthusiasm. Can that really be a superpower? But enthusiasm, whether in sales and building relationships or getting your foot in the door or just overcoming a challenge, enthusiasm is a very powerful gift to have. And so I've leaned, now that I knew that, I was like, man, I got creative gifts and I have other superpowers, but my main thing that has gotten me to doing this podcast and being on stage and getting into the rooms and putting myself in proximity with people like you is enthusiasm, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that what's awesome about what you've done is you've taken that enthusiasm and you focused your enthusiasm,
Social
right, towards towards social impact, towards this singular point. I think that a challenge that a lot of people that have a lot of enthusiasm or they get excited about things or whatever is that energy is disparate, that they it's like a shotgun type of approach.
Yep.
So I think the ability that that you've always shown me to channel it and to harness it is what's really important. That's right. And that's where you have the impact.
Yep. So let's nerd out on AI a little bit because we're both AI guys. We've got Brand Butler AI, we got AI Mavericks. You're doing AI events. I'm doing my video marketing vault. You see my guys with their Katie Hayner shirts, AI in the center.
Yeah.
We're doing a whole video marketing AI campaigner mastermind. It's also revolving around video and using AI to make faceless YouTube channels and 11 Labs and HeyGen. And I mean, I did 20 videos that are training videos for Brand Butler and each step of the brand blueprint process that were made in 4 hours. I made 21 videos in 4 hours using HeyGen. Wow. I recorded the avatar of myself, followed the directions, gave myself a 2-second gap in between what I was saying, limited my body language, but still had some of my own. And it's like 90%. No one can even tell that it's AI, right?
Really
so
great.
AI has changed my business. It's doubled my income, if not almost tripled my income since it came out. I'm using it in my personal life, my relationships, my marriage, my daughter, making kids books with her, and like there's so many things that you can do with it. What was kind of the spark and initial thing for you to launch this AI Mavericks? Like you saw something, you saw a gap in the market. What was that?
Wow, it's a really good question. So, I started a company in 2021 that I converted to an AI business in the summer of 2022.
Wow.
So I've been studying GPT-2 and kind of what it was doing and the power behind it. I thought, what if we could take the very best thing that we did in our business, the one thing that was the most unique, and basically pump it up with AI like a steroid,
Enhance.
right? And enhance it.
Yep.
Exactly. And so, that's what we did.
Wow.
And it seemed like, 5 months later, I think it was, ChatGPT was launched.
That's right.
So it seemed like we were in the right place at the right time. And what happened was, there was a bunch of enthusiasm around what we were building. I went out and put together a big financing round, and we were scheduled to close. And the week before we closed, Silicon Valley Bank went out of business.
Yeah.
Which completely threw off the capital markets.
Yep.
Raised one side, like everything
I
stopped.
remember that. Yeah.
And so I continued to pitch the deal. And at that time, the people I was pitching to, they were saying like, we can't invest in anything new now. We're taking the new funds and we're putting them into our existing companies because they can't raise money now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Now, I kept having conversations with these people. And in the middle of last year, they all started to sound the same. It was like, hey, Scott, after we're done, would you mind sticking on the phone? Like there would be a group.
Yeah.
Would you mind staying on the phone with me for a little bit? I'd love to ask you a question, right? Or, hey, can we set up a separate call? And it was always the same call. And the call was, hey, our leadership teams don't know what to do with AI. And they have to be raising money right now.
That's right.
Could you create a framework or a process to go in and help them understand how to create an AI vision and a strategy and a roadmap? Could you teach them how to communicate
That's neat.
this to their board and investors and teams? Because they're all different. They all approach this issue in a different way. And I kept hearing this so often, I decided there's a market here.
That's right.
And so we started a company, AI Mavericks, and that's what we do.
So it sounds like you took an existing business, 2021, was it like consulting, a meeting with these clients and stuff, and then you paired the AI as kind of the niche?
So the business of 2021, 22, that was actually a tool. So that was an AI tool.
Oh, got it.
And in the end, we couldn't get funding for it because the market fell apart.
Yeah.
But what we learned, because we had built great relationships, is we had learned that there was another need people have. And I think that one of the most difficult things for entrepreneurs to do is, especially when you're out there selling your vision or raising capital, is you're telling the same story over and over and over again. And sometimes what that does is it puts you in a position where it's very difficult for you to hear the market
Mhm.
and what the market is saying to you.
That's right.
So we were fortunate because we had really good people on this project and everyone was hearing the same thing
Got
and
it.
they were open to hearing the
Yep.
same, to open to it. So it worked out. But
Okay.
again, I think for any entrepreneur, the key here is no matter what happens,
Yep.
right, to be able to stay open and listen to market
That's right.
feedback.
Listen to the feedback.
Yeah.
That's key. So 2 last questions. We'll make it quick and we'll wrap it up. But the 2 last questions, there's a lot of doom and gloom around AI, right?
Yeah.
We hear it all the time. It's taking
Yeah.
his jobs and this and that. AI copywriting is bad and it's not original
Yeah.
thoughts and all this stuff. How do you see the future moving forward with AI being able to make a social impact? How to actually make the world a better place? What's your viewpoint on that?
Wow. I think that the first way it will help people to make a bigger social impact is effectively serving as like an assistant for people that are making a social impact.
Yep.
I think they'll be able to have like a force multiplier behind them that helps them to think through new creative ways to do whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish,
That's right.
to help build a strategy around that, to take the data that they're getting, the results they're getting, that data, to load it in
That's
to something like a chat GPT and be able to have that AI take a look and say, you know what, this is how you could be doing it better, leaner, making whatever it is your goals are,
smart.
right? So I think it will be an insane assistant for people that are trying to have a social impact.
Yeah, I think it'll take good ideas. I throw a bunch of stuff at it, and then it
Yeah.
refines it down and makes it simple. It takes good ideas and makes them great. I was able to really refine my brand strategy, my process even better. I thought I had it dialed in, and then I fed it to ChatGPT and Claude, and I was like, whoa. Right? It taught me different styles of writing. It's made me a better marketer. I've learned how to write better. I've written, multiple books now, and it's helped me in every single area of my business and numbers and understanding projections and customer acquisition. And when I was doing my video marketing vault pricing,
Yeah.
I literally took a picture of the in and out menu, sent it into ChatGPT and said, how can I set up my pricing for video marketing vault to be as simple as this? And so
Awesome.
just taking existing ideas and combining them,
Yeah.
right, with AI. And that's the thing, is I can produce now in a week what used to take me 3 months. Like, no
Yeah.
joke, not a month, 3 months. So
Yeah.
that's kind of some of the stuff that's made a huge impact for me. The last thing is I like to do on every single show is have some sort of challenge,
Let
right?
me let me just share one more thing.
Perfect.
I think that if you want to make a big social impact, it's really important, like, and you're not sure where to start with AI. Because I think that most people, when it comes to AI, they're stuck between this fear of missing out and fear of jumping in.
That's right.
They don't really know where to start.
Uh-huh.
And I think that the word AI itself is like intimidating
Yeah.
to me. That
Yep.
that acronym, like
That's
what
right.
artificial intelligence, what does that mean? What does it mean to me? What should I do? Here's what you should do. Just get on ChatGPT.
That's right.
That's all you need to
Let's
do.
just start with that.
Just start with that.
Yep.
Just start for 2 days, for 1 day.
Yep.
Use ChatGPT instead of Google
That's right.
for your searches,
That's right.
for information.
Well, James Malinchak probably, right?
Yeah.
Through the speaking circuit. One of the things he talks about is he pre-frames everybody at the beginning of his talks. How many of you guys could read 1 page a day? Right? It's one of the things he does. Everybody raises their hand. How many people would probably come home after your long day and read one more page? Cool. Now you could literally read 2 books a year. If you read 2 pages a day across 365, that's a couple books a year. All right. So when he goes to pitch his book at the end, everybody's already been pre-framed that they can read a couple books. So when he pitches 2 books for $10 or $20, whatever,
Yeah.
everybody's running to the back for the $20 bill. So he's pre-framing that, right? So I think that there's a lot of power in kind of pre-framing the same thing with AI. Is just spend an hour.
Yeah.
How many, or even 10 minutes, just download ChatGPT on your phone or on your computer and spend 10 minutes a day playing around, asking it questions, and just learning how to interact with it. That would right there is a really, really great piece of advice.
And ask it, just, go to ChatGPT, what's the best way to learn how to use you?
That's right.
And it will
Yeah,
tell you.
there you go.
I want to learn how to create a custom GPT. How do I create a custom GPT?
Step by step.
And it will teach you.
Yep, that's true.
What is the number one thing people in the job market like are looking for from people that know AI? And it will teach you.
100%.
How can I use AI to have a bigger social impact? And it will teach you.
That's right.
And that's what's really cool about that tool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So what's your challenge? Your social impact. We want to encourage people that are watching this to go out and take some sort of action today and make a difference in the world. Something small, it could be something big, but what's something that you'd like to challenge everybody on?
So I think that the word I like to use is gratitude, right? We hear this, talked about and thrown around a lot.
Yep.
I believe that gratitude changes everything because it gets you to shift your perspective or your focus
That's right.
from what to what you have versus what you don't have.
That's right.
And so my challenge is to set an alarm on your phone for 7:30 a.m. every morning, or whatever time works for you.
Yeah.
But sometime in the morning before your day really gets started.
Okay.
And when that goes off every day, just say out loud 3 things that you're grateful for. And if you want to be an overachiever, do it twice a day.
There we
So
go.
7:30 in the morning, 7:30 at night. If you have kids, let's take it to the next level. So if you have kids, what I'd recommend you do is get them in this habit of gratitude
That's right.
and practicing gratitude. So what you might want to do, the way I did it was when I started, my kids were really young and their favorite show was Barney. So I made the alarm ringtone the song that starts the Barney episodes.
Yeah.
The I love you, right?
Yeah.
And so every time that they heard that, they knew it was time to say thank you.
Beautiful.
So and it changed over the years. Now it's like something.
Well, now with
probably-
Alexa smart devices, you can set reminders for it to show you every day. Hey, at 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Hey, what are you grateful for today?
Yeah.
And I'd have that do. I have it for my wife every day. You're the most beautiful woman in the world. Every day I know she's going to be taking a shower right around the same time. I have it just automatically. So you can use your Alexas, your Google Homes and all that to remind you, right? Even if you don't have it in your regular calendar.
That's so true. So that'd be it. That would be for 30
There you go.
days. I challenge you for 30 days to practice gratitude, not just once, but twice a day. And if you do have kids, get them involved in this process, like give that
Sure.
gift to them as well. And make it fun by letting them choose whatever the ringer is on your alarm. And that's where I'd start.
So gratitude is magnetic. It's the highest frequency that you can be at to attract the things in your life that you want. And it's just a powerful thing to do. You got your challenge there. I want you to report back, drop a comment, drop some information either on his page, social media, check his stuff out. Do it or you'll be swimming with the fishes, capiche? So how do they find you?
Go to AI Mavericks.ai, AI Mavericks.ai. You can also go to scottduffy.com.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. That was
Yeah.
awesome. Appreciate it.
Great to see you.
We'll see you guys on the next episode. I'm Adrian Boycell. And as always, keep looking up.
Came here to fill the void. I am love. I am peace. I am joy that can never be destroyed. I am love.